Alright, so today we find ourselves at Tomlinson Run State Park, Hancock County, West Virginia, just outside of the town of New Manchester. Today we're going to explore the upper and lower Laurel trails and the White Oak Trail. Many parts of both of those were originally the New Manchester Turnpike, believe it or not. Along our way, we'll visit some old local homesteads that are no longer there, some grist mills, Hartford's grist mill, Fairview Woolen mill, the Thomas Hudson sawmill, E.L.P.O rock, which was a frontier post office. We're going to start our journey near the Old Mill Scout Camp along Washington School Road, which runs right through the edge of the park.
This video is intended to share some of the history in Tomlinson Run State Park. It serves as a trail guide for those who can make the trip, and as a tour guide for those who can't.
That waterfall was Sugar Run, which comes down off the hill here. And it's no coincidence that that's where the beginning of the Maple Trail is. However, today, that is not our destination. Today we are hiking the Laurel Trail. Alright, you'll soon come to the intersection of the Laurel Trail and, well, the old New Manchester Turnpike. There's the rock there. Laurel Trail comes in here. Here's the roadbed. Down the hill goes to the Fairview Woolen mill, not more than 100 yards. Where the old bridge was, and, well, the mill.
The Fairview Woolen Mill operated from just before 1830 to sometime after 1880. The mill had several owners throughout its lifetime. The mill was also known by many other names. What made the Fairview Woolen Mill most unique is that the water was fed through a 400-foot tunnel through the hill, giving a water drop of 10 to 12 feet to turn that machinery that must have been in that rather large mill. You see the blue highlights the water coming down out of the hillside past the orange water wheel under the road represented in green, and then back out into the creek.
Watch closely down here, you can see the lower Laurel Trail, which is partially another old roadbed, but in most places it's washed out to a trail. This way takes you up to the split of the upper and the lower Laurel Trail, and we'll head there next. Okay, not far at all, and here we are to the split to the upper and lower Laurel. You can take this path down and connect to the roadbed we talked about that's below the hill down there. Or this trail Upper Laurel Trail goes to the New Manchester Turnpike, which follows down to the White Oak Trail, which also meets back up with the Lower Laurel Trail. So it's one big circle. We get to this section of the New Manchester Turnpike, also known as the Upper Laurel Trail. Come out along, you'll start to see this stone wall begin to form along your right hand side on the upper hill. Just a little bit of sign that something was nearby. And then a little further down, you'll see the remnants of what most folks believe was a spring house. On the right hand side, up the hill a little ways. You'll run into the foundation stones. Again, that's what everyone thought was a spring house. Just down the way, across the New Manchester Turnpike, back across the trail, you'll see a pretty big hole. Clearly a foundation for something. Check early birth records from around 1870s. You'll find people whose place of birth is listed as the New Manchester Turnpike. Kind of a mound of bricks over here, it seems. See that one there? And that's about what all you'll find here. Moving on down the trail. Nice place to live. Alright, back on the trail. The Upper Laurel Trail, the old New Manchester Turnpike. Moving along. Gotta say, the majority of this trail is really a pleasure to hike. It's soft, flat, kind of moss covered. Almost feels like carpet in places. Highly recommended. Yeah, see, here's one of those sections where it's almost like carpet. Some parts of this trail are still good, but a little sketchier. Alright, we're coming up on the split where the Upper and Lower Laurel Trails meet together with the White Oak Trail. So down the hill here toward the creek is the Lower Laurel. This is the Upper Laurel that we just came in on. And that's White Oak Trail. Continuing down there. And White Oak blazed in white. Now let's head out to White Oak Run. Head down the White Oak Trail. That'll take us to, well, we'll follow the New Manchester Turnpike. There's many relics of it along the way. E.L.P.O Rock, a lovely double waterfall, the H.H. Williams Homestead, an oil rig, and Thomas Hudson Sawmill are all down that way. Let's go. The first V in the road, it goes up the hill there, and one goes there, lower on the hill. There were many variations of the Turnpike over the years, and the one coming down the hill is Wellsville Road that eventually connected here. Also, when you get here, you'll begin to see some of the first man-made structures along the New Manchester Turnpike. There are many large stone walls that reinforce and support the road throughout its journey. And as I say, some of them are rather large. Many of them also have these keyhole style drainage. It's an idea to get a scope of some of these walls. This one doesn't end till down there.
February 18th, 1828, an act establishing a turnpike passed the General Assembly. A survey in accordance with the act was made, starting from Hamilton's Ferry, present-day Congo, opposite of Wellsville, by New Manchester, at that time in Brooke County, to the Pennsylvania state line. The road only continued as a turnpike for nearly 3 years, after which time it was turned into a public highway. Other than the sections of the road that passed through the park, the rest of the turnpike remains used to this day.
There certainly wasn't any problem finding stone to build these walls along the way. And another example of all the stone raw material you could ever want. Both old and new. Here's one of the walls with grain in action.
A list of some of the earliest settlers of Tomlinson Run. Samuel Baxter settled in what is now Grant District in 1798. John Nesselrode settled about 1795. Jacob Nestle settled near the mouth of Tomlinson Run in 1785. In 1800, or near that time, George Baxter, Old Mr. Corey, and George Wilhelm migrated to the county. William Murray settled here in 1818. Robert Glass in 1813. He settled 1 mile east of Fairview. E.L.P.O settled on the 400-acre tract where Fairview was situated in 1800. James Allison settled on the farm owned by Jonathan Allison, the grandson of James, on the road leading from Fairview to East Liverpool in 1800. John Johnson settled on the north branch of Tomlinson Run in 1802. Samuel Carruthers settled on the headwaters of Tomlinson Run in 1800 and erected one of the first still houses in what is now Hancock County. David Pugh also had a small still house on the same run from about 1804 to 1812. John Bailey settled on the north branch of Tomlinson Run in 1800, and Mr. Pittenger, located here in 1798, settling on the old road from Fairview to East Liverpool.
We do get back on top. Boy, there's some impressive rocks here. One of those spots where the road joins back in from another one. See it right across there, all the way up. It connects right down here. Connection's kind of washed out though. you approach the end of the White Oak Trail, near the mouth of White Oak into Tomlinson Run, the place really becomes kind of magical. It's almost poetic. I'm not sure how anybody could put it together any more perfect. This becomes amazingly wide open and flat basin here around the mouth. Well, now we've come to the mouth of White Oak Run into Tomlinson Run. Somewhere right near here was a crossing of a road on Tomlinson Run, and I think it was right over there. We're going to go ahead and head upstream of White Oak Run. Follow the White Oak Trail. It's a very cool little rock peninsula formation here. And down back there, kind of got a swamp. Alright, approaching the end of the White Oak Trail at the old bridge abutment that crossed White Oak on the New Manchester Turnpike. At least one iteration of it. I see these trees are all blazed in blue. We will, however, go back down, find ourselves a place to cross White Oak without getting our feet too wet, and we'll try to head up to E.L.P.O Rock. Right here near the bridge abutment, there are quite a few carvings in the tree. Why someone would put this one here with these marks, I'm really not sure. Interesting. There's the bridge across White Oak Run, and there's the New Manchester Turnpike on the way to E.L.P.O. It comes down from Baxter Sugar Camp, crosses White Oak right there, and just down from there, the water has carved two little chutes out of this large rock. Beavers. I'm in the hill to E.L.P.O. E.L.P.O Rock. Almost there. Not long before you make it to E.L.P.O, come across this old oil rig. This cable. the way down to the pump, which always amazes me. It always seems to have new lines and fittings, even though it doesn't look like it's run in a very long time. Lots of oil lines running around. And then across the road from that pump, a big old tank. All right. The back of the entrance to E.L.P.O. Make our way around the front. See if the daffodils are up. Haha. And they are. Every year, year after year, you can find these daffodils. Right across from E.L.P.O Rock. Good look at E.L.P.O Rock. East Liverpool Post Office drop-off point for folks that lived along the New Manchester Turnpike. Everybody pick up, drop off their mail in here. What's really interesting is the rock itself has some pretty neat carvings in it. Flag on a building, 1879, DC, star with a circle. There's E.L.P.O right there, and well, maybe something after it. Over here to the left, it says Liberty R. Gardner. Next to that, A.L.M.I.R.A. And some letters under it I can't quite make out. We'll see if we can figure those out later. And over here we have a horseshoe, and it says Sunday, June 8th, 1879. And down on the other side of the E.L.P.O marker, here it says Sunday, August 22nd, 1878, I think. And below that, E. Williams and W. Gardner. Something else below it that I can't make out at this moment. Now there's also some more recent graffiti. Here's Butch Mercer Looks like Butch was here in 1968. And we got DW and JW in 1993. There's a few more if you really search around. But yeah, so that's E.L.P.O Rock. East Liverpool Post Office. Drop off and pick up point for the new Manchester Turnpike. There, I'm taking a moment. I highlighted the historical part of it. Almira and Julia. Bow and arrow pointing to the left. Sunday, August 22nd, 1878. E. Williams, W. Gardner. Just as a reminder, the road goes right past E.L.P.O Rock. Right up here to our left is an intersection, and then the H. Williams homestead. We'll visit there next. Just off the trail, you can also find remnants of things that were once here. Looks like this may have been a site for another one of those oil pumps or similar. Bricks all around. Alright, there's E.L.P.O down there. New Manchester Turnpike Road comes up here, comes to here, and then splits. One goes down the hill toward Tomlinson Run Creek, and then one goes out, hooking up eventually with Welton Road that comes up from Nestle Chapel. Right here at the corner of this intersection is where you can find the H. Williams homestead. And there's not a whole lot left. But as you walk into the woods here at this intersection, you will begin to see some foundation stones. Very evenly spaced out along the landscape. I believe there's 4 of them here. And then some other larger stones. Here you can see the 4 stones in a row, creating a foundation for the house that's at there. Alright, we're going to head to the trail down the hill back toward Tomlinson Run Creek. Following along this section of the road, back down and get you along the creek. If you would to follow it all the way down, this would bring you out at the backwaters near Cow's Farm. Yet another spot on the road where daffodils are just having their way. Off in the background there is the Thomas Hudson sawmill. We're heading there next. Wow. Though it's tough to see, Thomas Hudson sawmill sat right there, and there's stones all around its base. The unique thing about this particular sawmill is it used a reciprocating blade, like a jigsaw would. Very unique for its time. Most sawmills would have used a rotating blade. Just down from here, there was another building. Right there, there's some bricks and so forth. If you walk down and look around, you'll find its foundation. It's listed as one of Thomas Hudson's properties. It must have went along with the mill. And his house is way up on the hill down there. About a mile away was the old Thomas Hudson homestead. For now, we'll head back up. Marker carved trees. This one does have an arrow in the bottom though, telling you that your road goes straight. On our way back down to White Oak. Down here and find ourselves a nice spot to cross. Well, that looks like my way across. So yeah, let's do that. Alright, sure, this is going to be just fine. And here we go. Put that in my way. There we go. Ooh. Oh, kind of soft and spongy. Alright, well, all in all, that didn't go too bad. Still got dry feet. Back down White Oak to Tomlinson Run and up the White Oak Trail. Back on the trail, White Oak Trail, headed up Tomlinson Run. However, find another one of those, like on E.L.P.O Rock. That's interesting. It points toward E.L.P.O Rock from here. Most of it just graffiti. Alright, back to the trail. Alright, find ourselves back to the junction of the White Oak Trail that I'm coming off of, the Upper Laurel Trail, and the Lower Laurel Trail. So for now, let's head down the Lower Laurel Trail toward the bridge abutment. A few old homes that we can't see from this side of the creek, and Hartford's grist mill. As you come down the Lower Laurel Trail, right here at the first trail marker, you'll see kind of a old road off to your left. Here's the main trail, Lower Laurel. And this old one goes up here. You follow that up just a little ways, up into there, you will find a foundation for a small home, some bricks. Kind of sits over the peak overlooking the creek. It's a really nice spot. Alright, here's where that little home or cabin or whatever it was. Oops. It appeared somebody had lived here, not much left. You can definitely see some bricks. And a few cut stones. Definitely a dugout foundation area. And, well, that's about all that's up here. It's a really nice place for your house, though. I'd never found this till today. There's a spring here, so I'm going to guess this was their spring house. For now, we're going to continue down the Lower Laurel. Alright, the old bridge abutment is right there. And it's tough to follow. But right there is the old roadbed going up the hill. On your way back from the bridge, there's a lower Laurel Trail, the road. There's another road just off here, not far up from the creek. This one goes down to Hartford's grist mill. We're going to head down there now.
This is a hand-drawn survey by James G. Marshall in 1882.
There's the road coming into Hartford's mill.
Hartford's grist mill was originally powered by water wheel, but then was later converted to steam boiler, powered by coal.
Alright, here we are, Hartford's mill. This is what remains today. Would have been the back wall of the mill. Pretty large. Left of the mill site here. Foundation going around. Back wall. Blazed in blue. You'll see the creek is very scenic in this area, strewn with large boulders. And just a little further upstream here, we'll find the remnants of the old bridge abutment. My understanding is this was a covered bridge, but I've never seen a photograph of it in order to confirm that. You can see the bridge abutment up there now. Whoa! And you can see it's quite the majestic fishing hole. If you're into wilderness fishing and are willing to hike down here a little ways, I would be willing to bet it's well worth it. And here is where the bridge once was. However, no longer is. And this particular bridge, 20 feet up. Look closely, you can see the stones of the abutment over there, kind of squared off. And then the road heads up. Looking at the maps for this area, there are a couple other homes that were found on the other side of this bridge. If you follow this road up, it will connect you to 6th Road, I believe. Yes, 6th Road, coming up from the backwaters.
This is a hand-drawn survey by James G. Marshall in 1882. It is believed that at least one of the two houses shown on the drawn survey by Mr. Marshall is the home of John Knoll and birthplace of Reverend James M. Knoll. John Knoll was a native of Washington County, Pennsylvania, and was born in June of 1796. Migrated to Hancock County and settled in Fairview, where John worked as a tanner for 14 years. In 1836, John started working at Murray's Mill, learning the milling trade until 1839. He then purchased Coulter's Mill.
We're going to go ahead and head up the Laurel Trail, the lower Laurel Trail, which follows the creek. Let's go. Here's another look at the bridge upstream. While the lower Laurel Trail is much more of a trail, the beauty around here is well worth the trip.
About the year 1795, a man named John Nesselrode started a small black powder factory on a farm later owned by George Baxter.
Probably tough to see, but a trail that goes right up there to a cave. Yeah. I'm not going up there.
He built a log cabin and produced black powder for nearly 6 years. At that early date, powder and lead were very scarce. Being in great demand by the settlers, they brought a nice price. Game abounded in the forest in large quantities, and in order to provide food, the settlers needed the ammunition. Worse yet, to be without it would put them in danger of attack from Native Americans. It is said that Nesselrode received about $1 per pound of black powder. His process for making it was a very slow one because he had to make all his own ingredients, those being saltpeter, charcoal, and sulfur. He then had to grind each one by hand with what was known to the early settlers as a hand mill. The ingredients were then combined, wetted, dried, and reground even slower.
One of those few places on the lower Laurel Trail where a wall is used to retain the trail.
Today, unfortunately, there are no remains or exact knowledge as to where the location of Nesselrode's cabin was.
Here's a spot on the lower Laurel Trail where beavers are working very hard to clear. I think they're determined to build a dam. Some people surely got fancy. Alright, come back to the intersection off of the lower Laurel Trail with the upper Laurel Trail and the Laurel Trail, the New Manchester Turnpike. Not one single shot of me on the trail all day. So here we are. Hello. Alright, very quickly here. Our next trail junction goes down to the Fairview Woolen Mill, and that's the Laurel Trail hopping up on this rock, so that's the way we're going. Alright, we're on the last half mile or so of the trail going out on the upper Laurel. Headed back to parking at the old mill scout camp. I'm moving a little slower because I'm wearing down. And, well, it's getting dark too. Alright, there's the road. Almost to the end of the Laurel Trail. Take a minute here and give a shout out to Craig Heaton, who I've never met. Craig had a very informative site on the history of the park some years ago, which was part of my inspiration for seeking out this information. I also like to thank Bob Marshall, also known as Sky Raider. Bob's got some amazing geocaches here in the park, and again, the inspiration and motivation to visit some of these great spots. So, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your efforts. In the last steps. Thank you, Laurel Trail. Well, as we walk out back to our parking, I hope everyone enjoyed our hike on the upper and lower Laurel trails, White Oak trails. We discovered on our journey today the New Manchester Turnpike, covered bridge abutment, H.H. Williams Homestead, at least two other places where people dwelled at some point along the New Manchester Turnpike, which, as I mentioned, is listed on birth certificates as a place of birth. We also visited several mill sites. We overlooked the Fairview Woolen mill at the old Mill Scout Camp, Hartford's grist mill, just below the covered bridge abutment on the creek, and Thomas Hudson sawmill. And maybe the most interesting site along the way was certainly E.L.P.O rock. Oh, and a couple oil rigs. Alright, so here we are, back where we started, parking at the old Mill Scout Camp. Thanks for joining us.